Welcome back to a warm embrace, a soft place for the hard parts of being human. Today we're talking about growing out of older versions of yourself, the ones that once protected you, supported you, and carried you through seasons you didn't know how to navigate, but no longer fit the person you're becoming. If you've ever felt uncomfortable, guilty, or worried that changing might confuse or upset the people around you, this one is for you. This episode is about the quiet guilt and subtle inner conflict that often arise during growth. For a long time, I felt self-conscious about changing, not because growth felt wrong, but because I knew it would shift how people related to me, and people become attached to the version of you they first met. I used to shrink myself back into an older version just to keep the peace, just so nobody felt thrown off by my evolution. What I didn't realize then, and what I want you to know now, is that when people struggle with your growth, it's rarely about you. It's about what your evolution awakens in them, their fears, their insecurities, and their relationship to their own discomfort. I also used to believe that changing meant losing the good parts of me, the warmth, the softness, the loyalty, the compassion. Those parts didn't go anywhere. They were never tied to my old identity. They were tied to my truth. Growth doesn't erase the real you. It just removes the parts that were built on fear, survival, or conditioning. Change doesn't mean rejection. It means responding differently once you have new information. Sometimes the version of you that kept you safe is not the version that helps you live fully, and that's not something you ever need to apologize for. Growth often brings guilt because it shifts how people expect you to react. Maybe someone is used to you tolerating something, and now you don't. Maybe they're used to an old boundary, and now you have a new one. Maybe they're used to a version of you who stayed small, so they could stay comfortable. And the fear of upsetting them can keep you tied to versions of yourself you've already outgrown. We're wired to take the path of least resistance, the path that keeps everyone else comfortable, the path that doesn't require us to confront anything, including our own truth. Think about a time when someone said something that would have triggered an old reaction, but this time you responded differently. How did they react? And how did you feel? I've been in that moment. And I remember thinking, if I hadn't changed, this wouldn't feel so awkward. As if my growth had created the discomfort. But it wasn't my fault. And it's not yours either. What you're experiencing in that moment is not the problem. It's the adjustment period. People who don't want to grow, or don't know how, often judge the people who do. Your change confronts the parts of them they're not ready to look at, and that has nothing to do with you. Growth doesn't only create conflict with others, it creates conflict within ourselves. Because growth triggers the question, wouldn't it just be easier to stop? And yes, stopping would feel easier. It would feel familiar. It would feel predictable. Our nervous systems love predictability, even if the thing you're predicting isn't healthy for you. We forget that our nervous system doesn't measure what's good. It only measures what it recognizes. And anything new feels unsafe, even when it's right. Your old patterns feel safe because you've lived in them. Your new ones feel shaky because your body hasn't learned them yet. Fully living in your new truth often feels physically uncomfortable. Your body doesn't have a memory for this version of you. The old script is gone, and the new script is still being written. Standing your ground isn't harder because you're wrong. It's harder because you're new here. Successful growth is choosing discomfort over familiarity, because you know this version is closer to your truth than the version you once had to become to survive. It's okay to honor the versions of you that carried you through hard seasons. They weren't fake, they weren't weak, they weren't wrong. They were necessary. But you're allowed to thank them and still outgrow them. You're allowed to outgrow beliefs you once clung to for safety, outgrow habits that once helped you cope, outgrow perspectives that came from survival, not self-knowledge. Perspective shifts as you heal. That's not inconsistency, that's evolution. You're not losing yourself by changing. You're meeting more of yourself, sometimes for the first time ever. You're learning how your new awareness lives in your body, how it shapes your decisions, how it changes the way you experience life, how it influences the people you allow close to you. The people who are meant to stay will adjust. They'll learn your new boundaries, they'll evolve with you, or at least respect the direction you're going. And the ones who can't, the ones who only loved you in your survival era, they don't belong in your becoming era. Not every character is meant to follow you into every chapter. Turning the page doesn't mean betrayal. It means that the story is still unfolding. And to see how it ends, you need to move forward. The people who matter are always part of the chapters that follow. You're allowed to outgrow the chapters that once kept you safe. Thank you for listening to A Warm Embrace. Take what lands, leave what doesn't, and be kind to yourself today. I'll see you next week.